Thanks, man.
All right. Welcome, Rob.
Cheers, thanks for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today at our fireside chat on behalf of Binance Australia. You might not be aware, but Binance actually has a dedicated law enforcement team that is dedicated to protecting our users. The crypto landscape continues to evolve, and with that comes the inevitable presence of bad actors. As the leading Web3 infrastructure provider globally, we see it as our responsibility to protect our users, and our investigations team is at the forefront of these efforts. I'm really proud today to share some of the work that they do with you here at the Australian Crypto Convention. So let me introduce our investigations specialist, Rob Thomson, and he's going to be joining me to share a few of the stories from the front line of law enforcement at Binance. So welcome, Rob. Would you like to give yourself a quick introduction?
Yeah, cheers, thanks for having me. My name's Rob Thomson. Currently work at Binance as a special investigation specialist. So what that means is I basically deal with more complex cryptocurrency investigations and interact with law enforcement as a liaison. So how I ended up in that sort of position, I guess we'll go back in time a little bit. I used to work for the Queensland Police Service, so I was a police officer there for 13 years. I started out working in uniform policing, so just general duties police officer in a car that you'd see driving around. Moved into plainclothes detective work from there. While I was doing that, I went back to university, finished a couple of degrees in cybersecurity and criminology, and then moved into dedicated cybercrime realm. So working in the cybercrime space for Queensland Police for probably the last 3-4 years of my career there, and just specialising in large-scale sort of fraud, money laundering, scam, investment scams, all that sort of stuff. And that's how I came into cryptocurrency sort of end of 2016, start of 2017, and sort of started seeing it come into investigations more. And that's where I sort of picked up my skills and knowledge from that. From there, 2021, I moved out to the private sector working for private sector, working for Chainalysis, which is a blockchain analytics company. So what they have software that essentially, long story short, tracks and traces cryptocurrency is what they do. So I sort of had a role with them, working with public and private sector, nationally and internationally, basically training people how to use their product, how to conduct investigations, how to track and trace with accuracy is what I did for them. And then ended up coming across to Binance, back into dedicated investigation space earlier this year in March. And have been here since. Yeah. So that's a little bit of background.
Fantastic. Binance is user-focused, and we always think about our users when we engage or when we conduct business activity. How does your work directly benefit our users?
Yeah, for sure. So our users, as you said, are the most important thing for our platform, right? So how my work helps our users is in a couple of ways. So firstly, I guess from a holistic approach, when we work with law enforcement and also internally with Binance and other sections within Binance compliance, is we're all about being proactive. So trying to prevent scams or fraud, especially happening before it occurs, right? So prevention is always better than the cure. So we work, have a bunch of different programs that we work with pushing law enforcement and scam prevention. So hopefully we can sort of keep people before they get approached by anyone that might lure them into a scam. Post that, working with law enforcement after an event has happened, is really about trying to get bad actors out of the space. So any bad actors, we don't want them on our platform. We don't want them in the cryptocurrency space at all. So that's what we're trying to push out when we work with law enforcement, which is why we pride ourselves on working so closely with them to try and get those people out of the crypto area.
Last year, Binance was lucky enough to bring on board Jarek Jakovic as the head of intelligence and investigations for APAC. And Jarek is a leading global expert in cybercrime, and he is a former crypto specialist at Europol's Cybercrime Centre's dark web team. So can you share a little bit more about Jarek's work and what he's been doing at Binance?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jarek, he's an excellent investigator. So he used to work for Europol prior to Binance. His background is very, very extensive, working with things like darknet markets, mixing services and things like that. He has a lot of experience there. So he's come into Binance now. Occasionally, I work with Jarek a little bit with the occasional investigation. He's got such a wealth of knowledge. He's a great person to talk to. But his main role now is head of our law enforcement training group. So within Binance, we're pretty proud of this one. We started this as soon as Jarek came on board. So basically, he offers up something that is unique for Binance to law enforcement globally, is training for free. So being a former law enforcement officer, it's always hard. Training and resources was always a thing that you're always up against in policing, trying to keep up with the pace of things. So what we offer law enforcement is free training and guidance on investigations specific to cryptocurrency. So trying to upskill them and keep them up with the pace of things as they're happening. So that's what Jarek does for us. He leads that sort of momentum. He's had, I think since coming on board, I think he's conducted around 60 plus seminars so far with law enforcement globally. And I think he was recognised recently with an award from the Korean National Police Agency as well. Yeah.
Now, you've spent a lot of years on the beat, and I'm sure you've got some pretty crazy stories from the front line. So I'd love to jump into a few of those.
Sure.
I've heard about one with a romance scam victim. Can you share the tale?
Yeah, I can share a couple. So maybe the romance scam victim is actually pretty current. That happened this year with Binance, so as an investigation. So, and then maybe I can share, I've got one I can redact some information from it, but I can share as well from when I was still in the job. So with the romance scam victim, so what you'll see in cryptocurrency is crime that already exists in other realms be replicated. Cryptocurrency just becomes a means to an end, right? Just getting funds because you can move it so quickly. Also means that it's not easy to investigate, but can be investigated quickly as well because of that transparency and speed, if you know what you're looking for. So the romance scam victim. So New Zealand police worked with them earlier this year. They approached us. They had initially one romance scam victim in New Zealand who had been scammed quite a substantial amount of money. How they were getting her to send them their money was by depositing cash into crypto and then trying to use crypto through Binance to send that crypto onto them. When they were looking to send the crypto onto them, they were actually sending it sideways to another person who was then going to be sent onto those criminals. So what had happened is the first victim was a romance scam victim. Turns out the second person they'd sent to was also a victim. They were a victim of identity theft. So they'd had their information stolen. They had no idea they had an account with Binance at all. They had no idea. So New Zealand police first contacted us about the romance scam victim. We were able to interact with them immediately, say, yes, she has deposited these funds. Funds have been moved sideways, converted into crypto, moved sideways into another user's account. They can then approach that user. We were able to seize or freeze funds in that account so they can't be moved. Once they're on the platform, we have that power. So we can freeze those funds so they can't be sent anywhere else while the police are conducting their inquiries. So police then approached the second person. They said, it's not my account. I have no idea what you're talking about. They didn't know what Binance was. So they were approached. They dealt with the police. We spoke with the police. They were able to obtain basically a legal document that says that account's not mine. I have no idea how that money came to be. You can feel free legally to move that money back. So we're able to work with technically both victims and the New Zealand police to basically move those funds back to the victim without having to interact with anyone else. So that's sort of the power, I guess, of funds coming through your platform if you've got the right team working at the right speed. You can sort of jump on those jobs like that straight away, prevent those funds from leaving the platform, and then through the proper legal channels, of course, return those funds to that victim, which has been really, really awesome. It's something, especially coming from law enforcement, it's very rare. Like, it's not something that happens very often at all. I've actually been lucky enough this year to do that on a few occasions, which has been really good. Yeah.
And your second story with some redacted information?
Yeah, the second story is a little bit different, so that's not such a happy ending. So the second story is from a couple of years ago, so I'll redact, I guess, locations and stuff like that. So, I mean, no surprise, I just said I was a part of the Queensland Police, so that's where the investigation came from. So I was working in cybercrime at the time. Another investigative group, and this job, I guess, highlights, I wanted to share it because it highlights, I guess, struggles in the crypto ecosystem with when it comes to legislation keeping up with crypto as well, right? It's something that needs to be addressed too. So I sort of like to share it. So whilst I'm in the cybercrime unit, we have other specialist investigations unit across the police. There was another group doing an investigation into drug trafficking. So that particular group executed a search warrant. During the searching, I was very impressed. One of the officers who doesn't work cybercrime, works in that particular unit, he rang us, rang our office and said, hey, I'm conducting this search, I'm here now. I've located, hidden in this house, a card that's got 12 words written on it. I know a little bit about crypto, I invest in it. Pretty sure this is the guy's seed phrase for his wallet. What do you think? Is that something you'd be interested in, or could you give us a hand with that? I said, yeah, absolutely, we can give you a hand with that. So whilst they finish wrapping up that search warrant, I can divulge why they're doing that particular search warrant. They find a substantial amount of money, in excess of $1 million in hard currency, in fiat currency, in cash, shrink wrapped at the location. So whilst they've finished that search warrant, the suspect is taken away for interviewing and to be processed through the day. So they're taken away to a police station. The officers come back to our office with the seed phrase. They're like, what can you do? I said, well, we can recreate that wallet using that seed phrase, right? I can recreate that, no problem. So we fire up a computer, fire up a wallet service, re-enter that seed phrase and regenerate his wallet, his HD wallet. So what we're able to do then is see everything, all addresses within that wallet that have Bitcoin associated with it. And so within that, once we recreated the wallet, and you had several addresses attached to that seed phrase, those several addresses had around sort of just over 1.2-ish million Australian worth of Bitcoin in that wallet, or in those addresses, I should say, to be correct. From there, everyone's amazed, that's fantastic. So he has that Bitcoin, that's the best thing ever, great. We've located potentially more proceeds of crime, given the fact that we're here for a drug trafficking investigation. What can you do? I said, what we can do is exactly what we've just done, and we can't go any further. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, so this is where legislation sometimes falls behind a little bit. So cryptocurrency, depending on your jurisdiction, is not considered to be property. Property can't be, if it's an intangible thing, it's not property, it can't be seized. So if we can't seize it, I can't seize it. I can just look at it. It's something that doesn't exist, right? I can't physically take that item. I can take a ledger wallet, right? But again, if you've got a seed phrase, you can recreate that and move that Bitcoin to another address. So I sat there looking at a computer screen for a couple of hours whilst the suspect was processed. Once they were processed, released on bail from the police station with a business card of the person who was the main investigator for that. He then contacted that police officer and said, I'm assuming you found, I know you showed me from your property that you took my seed phrase, my card with the seed phrase on it. Just want to let you know I'm going to take that back. I know you can't have it. I'm taking it back. And that's what he did. So he had the seed phrase memorized as well as having it written down. So he went, grabbed a computer, fired up his own wallet, brand new again, and I sat and watched the computer screen as those funds were moved away and never to be seen again.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a sort of, I like sharing a story, it just sort of highlights maybe a few gaps that still exist. That would be great to get legislation up to speed to keep up with that. Yeah, it would be fantastic. It's not like that in every jurisdiction. Every state's different, federal's different, but that particular moment, I think it's still currently the same in Queensland, can't be seized. Yeah.
Speaking of speed, I know some of the feedback that your team has got is that they're really quick to respond to law enforcement inquiries. Can you tell me a little bit more about that relationship and why we've been able to build such a good relationship with local enforcement authorities? Yeah,
you probably made a good point at the end there, is that it's local. So that's sort of my role here in Australia. So as a part of doing those investigations, but also being a liaison for law enforcement. So what I guess bring with that law enforcement experience of mine is I know, I guess, what the officers are looking for. So what we provide on top of just, I guess, a compliance team that can respond to your requests is a local person, local presence on the ground that can respond to your investigations in real Australian time, right? So as a part of my role, my personal details sit with every cybercrime office in every state that has an office ready to go. So anytime, if there's if there's a request they have for a user, they can process it through our portal, and any other request they do will be through that legal means. It's always done the same way. But if they have something urgent that is happening right this minute, they know they can pick up my personal mobile phone or my email address and contact me like 7 days a week is not a problem. So that's the sort of service, I guess, where Binance goes above and beyond, like to build that relationship. They know they can trust us. They know that they're going to get an accurate response in a very, very timely manner. So that's how we've managed to build it over time. Yeah. Speed's always a key when it comes to any cybercrime investigation, but crypto especially. Yeah, speed.
Let's finish on scam awareness, because that's such a big focus for us here at Binance. And I know we in the marketing team do a lot of work, and across the business, it's a big focus. Can you share a little bit more for our users about where they can go to learn and protect themselves, and how they can try and stay safe out there?
Yeah, definitely. So, scam awareness. So, whether you're a Binance user or not, Binance Academy is one of the better resources I've seen that's available for free anytime you want to access it. So it's as simple as a Google search. So Binance Academy, within that academy, they'll have everything from step-by-step guides of just what crypto is, right? What Bitcoin is, how a transaction works, how you can invest in it, how you can buy it, how you can sell it, all that sort of how-to guides. But in and amongst that as well is a dedicated scam prevention that's updated regularly. Same as our frequently asked questions section if you are a Binance customer on our platform. So, but that Academy team prides itself on creating content as soon as we get as soon as we're aware of any current scams that are happening. So if we're aware of a current investment scam, we can tweak that education piece to that particular scam and then deliver that immediately online, right? So Binance Academy is a great resource if you're looking for any kind of scam prevention. Outside of that, for me, I would just, as a personal note, say that if you're investing in crypto, buying crypto, anything in that space, is to be very, very aware of what you're getting into, right? So everyone always says do your own research, but I would just echo that same comment. Do your own research. Be patient and really do that research, right? So more than the first page of Google, like go a little bit deeper. And if in doubt, if you're considering whether or not you're going to invest your hard-earned money into some sort of investment, whether it's crypto or anything, if it seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true, right? Like that would be my last piece, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your insight. I think Phil might have a couple of questions for us.
Cool. Does anyone, thank you guys, very good, very insightful. Does anyone want to ask their question directly? If so, put your hand up and I'll run to you as fast as I can. No? Cool, all good. Looking at the list, I'll probably start with the one that is ranked top. So ANZ and Combank don't allow deposit onto Binance. Can you shed any light onto why that is?
With, Australian deposits and withdrawals, did you say?
Fiat deposit on Binance.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they were stopped earlier this year. I have no further information on it, though, unfortunately. So hopefully we see some movement soon, but there's nothing else really
let's
to
hope.
Yeah.
Do you ever object to subpoenas, and if so, why?
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, it really. So when I say we deal with law enforcement, we have the ability to freeze accounts, and certain jurisdictions have the ability to even, like I gave that example of Queensland not being able to seize cryptocurrency. There's other jurisdictions that absolutely can seize that cryptocurrency. So as you can imagine, I'm just the presence in Australia, but the bigger global team is worldwide, as well as our legal representation as well is dispersed worldwide. So if we're ever going to freeze funds on an account or seize funds from an account, it is absolutely vetted through the proper legal channels before that's ever going to happen. So our first and foremost is always our user experience, right? So we're always looking out for the user first. If an investigation is done, it's done to the utmost thorough ability possible. And we definitely won't ever make a move on somebody's account unless we have proper legal channels that have been satisfied before we do it.
From a personal perspective, it's great to hear that you can even do those things. It makes me feel better as a customer, so I definitely am appreciative of that. What do you recommend a victim of fraud to do if scammed of their crypto and they suspect it's gone to Binance?
If you're a user of Binance, even if you're not, contact our customers. You can contact our customer support unit, right, to let them know and to make them aware, is a good first step. On par with that, and what I'm going to tell you to do straight away as well, is contact police, contact local police. So how to do that would be, if I remember the website from policing, it used to be called ACORN, now it's called Report Cyber, I believe. So that's where you report anything cybercrime related, which would be crypto, right? So I would absolutely urge you to report that to police, state police locally, as soon as that offence happens. The quicker that is, the faster police have the ability then to contact us and then for action to be taken. So the police are getting better and better over time in terms of capability and sort of investment in this space. So investing in things like analytics tools to track and trace crypto. So there's definitely work that can happen. Don't think it's, pointless and we shouldn't do anything. Contact police. They can do an investigation for you. They can help. But the faster, the better.
Cool. Final question, unless anyone has one up here. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Cool. I'll come over to you in 1 sec after this one, I promise. Any career advice for anyone who wants to get into your line of work?
Well, it really depends, right? Like, I suppose my pathway to here was through a reasonably lengthy career with the police service, which I'll be totally honest, I like on one hand and didn't like on the other. So,
well, I'm actually speaking for the law enforcement people of the world. Like, what would your advice be to them?
yeah. Oh, if you're coming from law enforcement, what you need to do is look for, I would say, support your experience that you have on the ground. First of all, don't think that it's pointless. It's incredibly important. I would say, if you can, link that to some sort of tertiary education. So I linked mine to 2 degrees, cybersecurity and criminology, and a certified ethical hacker after I finished that as well. So link it to a tertiary educated course, or even a industry relevant course, to match your experience. So that gives you both, and then look outside if you're moving on to someone else.
Awesome. Look, I think it will be a growing industry, so definitely a good career choice.
Mark, just a quick question in terms of the lead times once there's been a cybercrime report. From past experience with clients, I've realised sometimes it takes forever. Any tips about escalation?
You're not wrong. Sometimes coming through that portal, it can take time depending. In terms of escalation, I would always just express the urgency. So what they'll do is there'll be like tick boxes for you to put down, losses and things like that, and then how it happened, pre-formatted things. But there's also like an open narrative section where you make that complaint. I would always advise them there, always put in there the urgency of your request. That's the only real advice I can to try and push that through faster. Tell them that it's, put a time frame on it. This has only just happened. I needed action immediately. It's this sort of loss. This is devastating for me. Really emphasise that loss, and that it needs to happen fast in the open narrative section of making that online report. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Any more questions? No. Thank you so much, Robert and Liam. Really appreciate it. Thank you for making the time. Big round of applause, please.
Nice.